everyone! Today I'm going to walk you through some helpful tips and things you should take into consideration before embarking on a narrative research methods approach. So without further ado, let's get started. One of the first things that you are going to have to take into consideration is if your research problem best fits the narrative research model. Narrative inquiry is similar to phenomenology in that it looks at the lived experiences of individuals. However, the narrative approach is best used for capturing really in-depth, rich portraits that are more so detailed life stories or life experiences of a single individual rather than larger groups of individuals. An example of a research problem that could be used for the narrative approach is examining an individual's identity development over their lifetime. As a researcher, you will be spending a considerable amount of time with the participant gathering their story. So in terms of collecting these stories, there are a few different methods which can be undertaken. You can ask the participants to write down their stories in journals or diaries, or you can observe the participant and listen to their story while taking field notes. Another method is for you to collaborate and co-construct the story with the participant, and this will be based on back and forth dialogue. Or you could also explore a performative retelling wherein the participant performs their story as a means to convey their message. In terms of selecting one of these methods, I think it boils down to figuring out what works best for you, given the type of study as well as the research problem that you're undertaking. With narrative inquiry, you need to start the process by taking a good hard look at yourself and exploring your own autobiography. This is an important facet of the process, as self-reflection on your own life and experiences may enable you to be more open when you conduct your research, and even allow you to find parallels between your own story and that of your participant. You should also be aware that because this method is so heavily based on collaboration between the researcher and the participant, it's inevitable that your own persuasions and experiences will influence the course of the research. Given this fact, if you'd like to keep yourself out of the study, then this is not the research method for you, as it's quite a relational type of research. You also need to take care with how you retell your participant's story. Narrative research allows for a collaborative aspect wherein the participant is actively involved on a day-to-day basis in the overall composition of the story and experience along with the researcher. The relationship that's built and sustained between these two parties is a key theme in narrative inquiry, and both the participant and the researcher will be shaped by the encounter, and together they will shape the meaning of the stories. Given this fact, it's best as a researcher to remain true to the original story of the participant rather than reworking it to fit a particular model or answer a question that you've created. Inevitably, because of the collaborative nature of this model and personal perspective, there's bound to be some deviation from the original. However, too much deviation from the original renders the story more of a creation of the researcher rather than that of the participant. And I was mulling this over, and isn't one of the main points of research to gather and disseminate information from its primary source? This is just some food for thought. Another great tip is to explore the potential of this research method if you are undertaking a study with Aboriginal populations. Narrative inquiry offers participants the option of engaging in a performative storytelling experience in which they can act out their story and its message. This feature of the narrative model works really well with First Nations participants, as their history and heritage are quite deeply entrenched within the oral tradition of storytelling. One tip is to not take on this method if you are short on time. In narrative inquiry, the researcher needs to have an impeccably clear understanding of the participant's life, and this is not something that can be rushed. The researcher takes on an active role wherein he or she will undertake a process known as restorying. And restorying is a device used by researchers to reorganize the stories into a general framework which can be easily understood. Most of the time, when participants will tell their stories, they will be out of order. And to make things more chronologically understood, the researcher will have to go back and put them in proper chronological order. And another part of this framework might consist of gathering the participants' stories and analyzing them for key elements such as times, places, and plot. And as I had just mentioned, rewriting the stories to place them in chronological order. This is labor-intensive and a time-consuming process to collect extensive information on a single participant. And if it's not done well, it will definitely impact how the story is retold and the quality in which it is retold. So if you do select this method, make sure that you can properly invest the time and attention that narrative inquiry requires. I hope that you have found this video helpful and informative. Thanks so much for watching.